Ever thought your biggest rival could actually be like your secret weapon? That's the kind of counterintuitive wisdom we're diving into today.
Yeah.
We're taking off the 48 Laws of Power.
All right.
A book that's all about strategy.
Okay.
And navigating those tricky power dynamics. Get ready to explore this surprising idea.
Okay.
Sometimes learning to use your enemies can be more advantageous than leaning too hard on your friends.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book really pushes us to see relationships from a different angle, not just through emotions, but through a strategic lens.
Okay, so law number 2 hits us with this. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Now, before you think we're suggesting you go all Machiavellian, let's break this down. Why would anyone advocate for utilizing enemies?
The idea is that friends, precisely because they're close, can become a bit complacent. They might start taking your loyalty for granted, or even feel a twinge of envy at your success.
Oh, yeah.
Enemies, on the other hand, they have something to prove. They're more driven, more careful, and ironically, they often end up being more loyal because they're constantly working to earn your trust.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But how do you actually use an enemy?
Right.
Doesn't that sound a bit risky?
The key is not about befriending your enemies, but understanding them.
Okay.
What motivates them? What are their strengths? And more importantly, their weaknesses.
Okay.
By understanding their game, you can sharpen your own skills, predict their moves, and maybe even use their tactics to your advantage. It's all about thinking strategically.
All right, I'm starting to see the logic here.
Okay.
But I need a real-world example. Give me something dramatic, something historical.
Let's go back to the Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
The book shares a cautionary tale about misplaced trust, featuring Emperor Michael III.
Okay.
And a man named Basil,
all right,
who started as a simple stable hand.
A stable hand? You mean the guy who cleans up after horses?
That's the one.
Wow.
Michael III, known for his trusting and generous nature, took a liking to Basil and gradually promoted him to positions of power.
Okay.
Basil became a close advisor, practically part of the family, but as his influence grew, so did his ambition.
I think I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Classic case of power corrupting, right?
You're catching on. Basil, driven by his ambition, orchestrated a coup, betraying Michael III and grabbing power for himself.
Oh, wow.
And we're not talking a peaceful takeover.
Oh, no.
The passage describes how Basil, after becoming emperor, had Michael III assassinated.
That took a dark turn.
Yeah.
So misplaced trust in a friend led to betrayal and a brutal end for Michael.
Precisely.
Wow.
This story is a stark reminder of how easily things can go south when we blindly trust those close to us, especially in the realm of power.
Okay, that's a chilling thought.
Right.
But doesn't the saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, contradict this whole idea?
It's a common saying.
Yeah.
And there's wisdom in it, but it's often misunderstood.
Okay.
It's not about getting cozy with your enemies or inviting them into your inner circle.
Yeah.
It's about awareness, understanding their actions, and using that knowledge to stay one step ahead.
So it's more about strategic awareness than fostering friendship.
Exactly. Blind faith in either friends or enemies can be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
The key is balance, strategic thinking, and, let's be honest, a healthy dose of skepticism.
Got it.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Byzantine Empire, but is there a more relatable example? Maybe something from folklore that illustrates this profiting from enemies concept?
There's an African folk tale,
The
Snake in the Tie,
right,
that captures this beautifully. It's about a farmer who finds a snake frozen stiff from the cold.
Oh.
Feeling pity, he picks it up and tucks it inside his shirt to warm it up.
Wait, a snake inside his shirt? That doesn't sound like the best idea.
Right, but that's the point.
Okay.
As soon as the snake warms up, it reverts to its nature and bites the farmer.
Oh, geez.
As the farmer lies dying.
Oh, no.
He asks the snake why it repaid his kindness with such cruelty.
So what does the snake say?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just my nature.
Basically, the snake argues that it was simply acting according to its instincts.
Oh, wow.
The moral of the story is that no matter how helpless or friendly an enemy might appear, never forget their true nature.
Okay, that's a bit dark.
Yeah.
But I see the message. Trust, but verify.
Right.
Especially when dealing with rivals or competitors.
Absolutely. And to bring this back to the 48 Laws of Power, there's a compelling example from Chinese history that really drives this point home. It involves Emperor Sung and his inner circle.
All right, lay it on there. What happened to Emperor Sung?
Well, Emperor Sung took over after a rebellion.
Okay.
To reward those who helped him rise to power, he appointed them to high-ranking positions, thinking he was surrounding himself with loyal friends and repaying their kindness.
That seems like a natural thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Reward those who helped you succeed.
Sure, but here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Over time, these friends became complacent, hungry for power, and ultimately they betrayed him.
Oh, geez.
They plotted against him.
Wow.
Taking advantage of the trust he had placed in them.
Hold on, you're telling me Emperor Sung was overthrown by his own crew? Talk about a serious friend zone fail.
Exactly. It's a harsh reminder that human nature is complex.
Yeah.
Even those who seem completely loyal can be swayed by ambition, power, and, let's face it, plain old greed.
So, what's the takeaway for us regular folks?
Right.
Are we all destined to be betrayed by our friends?
Not necessarily. The point is not to live in a constant state of suspicion, but to be aware of the potential pitfalls when trust and power dynamics get mixed up.
Okay.
It's about being discerning, paying attention to people's actions, and not letting our emotions completely cloud our judgment.
Okay, so maybe not all friends are out to get us.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a reminder to be more strategic about our relationships, especially when power is involved.
Right.
But what about the workplace?
Okay.
Is it ever a good idea to mix friendship and work?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
It's not always a bad idea, but it requires clear boundaries and a certain degree of emotional detachment. Think of it like this. You can be friendly with colleagues, but maintain a professional distance, particularly when it comes to important decisions.
So compartmentalization is key.
Precisely.
Okay.
The book provides a great example with Henry Kissinger, the former Secretary of State. He was famous for his strategic approach to relationships.
Okay.
Even with those he considered friends, he kept a certain distance.
Right.
Especially when matters of national security were at stake.
Kissinger, huh?
Yeah.
I guess when you're dealing with global politics, personal feelings can't get in the way of making tough calls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His approach highlights the importance of separating the personal from the professional, even when dealing with friends.
Right.
It's about protecting yourself and, in his case, safeguarding national interests.
This has all started to click now, but tell me,
Yeah.
Is there a historical people who truly mastered this art of using enemies to their advantage?
Yeah.
Someone who took this concept to the next level?
Mao Zedong, the leader of the Communist Party in China, provides a striking example.
Okay.
During the Japanese invasion of China in the 1930s,
Right.
he faced an incredibly powerful adversary.
Yeah.
But instead of directly confronting the superior Japanese forces, he opted for a strategy of strategic retreat and guerrilla warfare.
So he basically avoided a head-on collision.
Yeah.
Smart move if you're facing a stronger opponent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mao knew that engaging in a full-blown war with Japan at that time would be devastating for the communists. So he decided to turn the situation to his advantage.
Right.
Using a somewhat unconventional approach.
I'm all ears. How did he manage to flip the script using this avoidance strategy?
Mao realized that the Japanese invasion created an opportunity to weaken his rivals within China, Chinese nationalists.
Oh, okay.
By allowing the conflict to continue, he essentially let the Japanese and the nationalists exhaust each other.
So he played the long game, allowing his enemies to weaken each other while he conserved his strength.
Yeah.
That's some serious 4D chess right there.
It was a calculated risk, but ultimately a successful one. As the Japanese invasion dragged on, both the nationalist and the Japanese forces were weakened.
Right.
This gave Mao and the communists a chance to gain strength and build support among the Chinese people.
It's like he transformed a seemingly impossible situation into an opportunity for growth.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Mao's strategy perfectly illustrates a core principle from the 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
Sometimes the best way to deal with a powerful enemy is not through direct confrontation,
Right.
but by finding ways to use their actions to your advantage.
So it's not just about defending yourself.
Yeah.
It's about using your enemy's moves to propel yourself forward.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It requires a shift in perspective, seeing challenges as potential springboards rather than just obstacles.
This whole conversation has been a serious eye-opener.
Yeah.
You've got me thinking about power dynamics in a whole new way.
I'm glad you hear that.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I have one more burning question. The book emphasizes the dangers of misplaced trust in friends. is there ever a time when mixing work and friendship is actually a good idea?
It's a delicate balance, that's for sure. It's not always a bad idea, but it needs careful handling.
Right.
If you do decide to work with friends, the most important thing is to set clear boundaries from the get-go.
Okay.
It's about keeping the personal and professional aspects of the relationship separate.
So something like having separate work agreements and being upfront about expectation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Transparency and clear communication are key.
Right.
And even with those precautions in place, you always need to be prepared for the possibility that things could go sour.
Oh, yeah.
It's about carefully weighing the risks and rewards.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even the strongest friendships can be tested when you throw in things like power dynamics and personal ambitions.
Absolutely.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Should we all be suspicious of our friends and start recruiting enemies?
Not exactly. Friendship is a vital and essential part of human life.
Right.
But when it comes to power strategy and reaching your goals, it's essential to maintain a healthy dose of skepticism, even with those you're closest to.
So trust but verify.
Exactly.
As the old saying goes. And maybe keep a watchful eye on those enemies. You never know.
Yeah.
They might just teach us a thing or two about resilience, strategy, and even loyalty.
Precisely.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been all about challenging conventional wisdom and encouraging you to think strategically about your relationships. It's about realizing that sometimes those we perceive as adversaries can offer valuable insights and even unlock unexpected opportunities for growth.
So instead of fearing or trying to eliminate our enemies, we can actually learn from them. Maybe even use their opposition to fuel our own success. Kind of like turning lemons into lemonade, but on a power dynamics level.
Exactly. Think of it as competitive inspiration. Your enemies can highlight your blind spots, push you to improve, and help you develop strategies you might never have considered otherwise.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But in this case, it's more like what your enemies throw at you makes you smarter.
That's a brilliant way to put it. Of course, this doesn't mean we should go out looking for enemies or stir up conflict for the sake of it, but it does encourage us to see opposition and challenges as potential sources of growth and learning.
So the next time we come up against an enemy, instead of immediately getting defensive or trying to take them down, maybe we should take a moment to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this challenge to my advantage?
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Remember, power dynamics are constantly at play, whether we're aware of them or not. By understanding these dynamics and thinking strategically, we can navigate relationships more effectively and achieve our goals with greater clarity and purpose.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've explored the unexpected benefits of learning from our enemies, the importance of strategic thinking in relationships, and the potential to turn challenges into opportunities. It's like you've given us a whole new toolkit for navigating the complexities of power and relationships.
And if we can apply these principles to our own lives, imagine the possibilities. Perhaps they're our enemy that we've been underestimating or even overlooking. Could they be the key to our next breakthrough or success? It's a question worth pondering.
That's an excellent point to leave our listeners with. So, folks, as we wrap up this deep dive, remember, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies even closer, not to befriend them, but to learn from them, understand their motivations, and use that knowledge to empower yourselves.
And always remember, power itself isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for constructive or destructive purposes. By understanding the laws of power, we can wield it more effectively and ethically, navigating the complexities of relationships and achieving our goals with wisdom and insight.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating exploration into the world of power strategy and human nature. Until then, stay curious, stay strategic, and remember, your enemies might just be your greatest teachers.